After my father's stroke, I spent every weekend driving 6 hours to take care of him. She promised, I'll hold things down here. Then I found a photo online, her, laughing on a boat with my friend. When I asked her why, she said, "You left before I did." I didn't respond, but at my father's will reading, she heard something that made her grip the table. After my dad had his stroke, everything changed. Not just for him, but for me too. I didn't even think about it at first. It just felt automatic. He needed someone, and I was that person. He lived in a small town in Ohio. I was in Northern Virginia. It was almost exactly 6 hours if I didn't stop much. Every Friday after work, I'd grab a coffee, throw a bag in the car, and start the drive. I'd usually get there around midnight, let myself in, and check if he was asleep okay. Then I'd spend the weekend helping him get through the basics: shower, pills, food, cleaning the place. He never asked for much. But he didn't have anyone else. Nora, my girlfriend, was still back home. We'd been together 5 years. Lived together 4. She worked full-time too. We talked about marriage once or twice, but nothing solid. When I told her I had to start going to Dad's more, she said, "Of course. Do what you need to. I'll hold things down here." And she did, at first. She sent me updates, reminded me when bills were due, ordered groceries to the house. She made me feel like we were a team. So I kept driving. Every weekend. For 11 months. The weekends all started blending together. I'd be there 2 days trying to do a week's worth of things. Then I'd leave at 4 a.m. Monday morning to make it back in time for work. I barely saw anyone outside of work and my dad. My life just kind of shrank. Nora stopped texting as much. She used to ask how my dad was doing, but after a while, she just stopped bringing it up. I figured she was tired too. I wasn't really there anymore. Not emotionally. Not physically. I figured it was just a phase. Then one weekend I was driving back from Ohio. I stopped at a Sheetz to fill up, grabbed a snack, and was sitting in the car scrolling on my phone while the gas pumped. I don't know why I opened Instagram. I hadn't posted anything in weeks. But there it was. A photo. Nora on a boat. Her head was tilted back, laughing. Wearing the sundress I bought her last summer. And next to her, arm around her shoulder, was Ryan. Ryan was someone I used to call a friend. Not a best friend, but close enough. We'd met through a pickup soccer league, grabbed drinks after games, invited each other to parties. He'd been to my house, sat at my table, ate burgers off my grill. The post was from someone else on the boat. They tagged both Nora and Ryan. It was posted the night before, Saturday. I just stared at it. It didn't register right away. I kept thinking it can't mean anything. Maybe it was a group trip. Maybe she just ran into him. But I felt it in my chest. That cold, sinking feeling you get when you already know the truth, but your brain hasn't caught up yet. I didn't text her. Didn't call. I just finished the drive, walked into our apartment, and found her in bed reading. She looked up and smiled like everything was normal. I sat down at the edge of the bed and said, "Why were you on a boat with Ryan?" She didn't act surprised. Didn't ask what I meant. Didn't try to lie. She just looked at me like it wasn't even a big deal and said, "You left before I did." That's all. I stared at her, waiting for more. Some kind of explanation. An apology. Something. But she didn't say anything else. Just went back to flipping through her book. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't even pack a bag. I just got up, went to the living room, and sat there for a long time in the dark. That night, I didn't sleep. I didn't go back into the bedroom. I just sat on the couch, staring at nothing, trying to decide what the hell just happened to my life. The thing is, I didn't even know who I was mad at more, her or myself. She didn't lie. She didn't deny it. She looked me in the face and told me what it was. And I just sat there and let it land like a punch I somehow knew I deserved. The next morning, I left for work early. Earlier than I needed to. Just wanted to get out of the house. At lunch, I called my sister. We hadn't talked much during the last year. She moved out west years ago. Didn't visit Dad after the stroke. Said she couldn't handle seeing him like that. But she picked up on the second ring. "Hey," I said. "Just wondering if you could come out here." Maybe stay with Dad for a while. There was a pause. Then she said, "Something happened?" "No," I said.
Yeah.
"Something happened. I need a break." She said she'd think about it. That usually meant no. That weekend, I went back to Dad's like usual. I didn't tell Nora I was leaving.
She didn't ask.
But something was different this time. When I got to Dad's house, he was in the kitchen, struggling to open a can. His left hand still didn't work right. I watched him for a second, just watching, and for the first time since the stroke, I felt angry. Not at him, at everything. At how I'd been stuck in this limbo while my life back home just slipped away. I walked over, took the can from him, opened it, and set it on the counter. Neither of us said anything. Then he said, "You look tired."
I didn't respond.
We didn't talk much that weekend. I did the chores like usual, sat with him during his TV shows, made him meals. But my mind was somewhere else. On Sunday, something strange happened. Dad asked me to bring him his old safe box, the one he kept under his bed. I hadn't seen him open it in years. Inside were a few papers, some old photos, and a letter.
He handed it to me.
"Read that after I'm gone," he said. I looked at him. "What is it?" He just shook his head. "You'll know when it's time." I left it alone. A month later, he passed in his sleep. The funeral was small. My sister flew in, acted like she'd been around the whole time. Nora came too. She stood a few rows back, didn't say much. But the will reading, that's where it all came out. It was held in a lawyer's office downtown. Just me, my sister, and Nora, who insisted on coming even though I told her not to. The lawyer opened a manila envelope, pulled out a stack of papers, and started reading. Most of it was expected: his house, savings, some stocks. All left to me and my sister, split evenly. But then he paused. "There's also a separate letter," he said, "written to be read aloud." My stomach sank. I already knew what it was. The one he gave me. I had never opened it. The lawyer cleared his throat and read. "To my son, I know what you gave up to take care of me. I saw it even if I never said it. I also know she didn't wait for you. And I know who she was with. You deserve better than people who forget you when you're still in the room. So, I've made some changes. I hope someday you'll stop blaming yourself for things you didn't break." Then he turned to Nora. "As for you," he said, "your name came up more than once in our talks. I just want you to hear this from me. My son didn't leave. You just stopped looking." Nora gripped the edge of the table.
Hard.
Like she was trying not to say something. Her face went pale.
She didn't speak.
And I didn't either. After the will reading, Nora didn't come home with me. She didn't say goodbye, didn't follow me to the car. She just left. For the first time in almost 6 years, I walked into our apartment, and it was silent. No shoes by the door. No half-finished laundry in the basket. Her toothbrush was gone. I thought maybe I'd feel relief. I didn't. I felt hollow. The next few weeks were strange. People I hadn't heard from in months suddenly started checking in. Old friends from college. A cousin who never used to call. It was like news had spread about Dad, about the breakup, maybe even about the will. Small towns carry big rumors. Then one day, Ryan called me. I hadn't saved his number, but I recognized it. I didn't plan to answer. I don't know why I did. He said, "Hey man, I heard about your dad." "I'm sorry." I said nothing. Then he said, "Look, I didn't mean for things to happen the way they did. She was just around a lot. You were gone." I know that's not an excuse, but I hung up before he finished. A week later, I saw Nora again. Not in person. On Facebook. She was tagged in a post by a mutual friend. It was a baby shower. She was standing next to Ryan. His hand was on her stomach. She was pregnant. I stared at the photo for a long time. Not angry, just stunned. Like I was looking at a version of my life I barely recognized anymore. That same night, I opened Dad's letter again. The original one, the real one he handed me in the safe box. There was something inside I hadn't noticed before. A second page. It was handwritten, not typed like the rest.
Short.
It said, "If you're reading this after I'm gone, and you're still alone, Look in the drawer of the desk in the garage. There's something I saved for you. I hadn't cleaned out the garage yet. I went straight there. In the desk drawer was an envelope.
Thick.
Inside were photos. Old ones. My mother, who died when I was 12. Me as a baby. And one picture I'd never seen before, my dad, maybe in his 30s, sitting next to a woman I didn't recognize. She was holding a toddler.
Not me.
On the back, it said in my dad's handwriting, Dallas, 1989. Me and Ellie. And her son, Cody. I wasn't born until 1990. My hands went cold. I flipped through more papers in the drawer and found a letter, never mailed, addressed to a woman named Ellie in San Antonio. The letter said, I hope you kept the boy's name secret. I kept mine. If he ever comes looking, don't tell him unless he asks. He deserves a clean life, not the one I gave you. My mind raced. There was someone else. A brother? A half-brother? Or maybe me? What if I wasn't the person I thought I was? I didn't sleep that night. I just kept looking at the photo. At the man I thought I knew. At the kid that might be me or might not. The next morning I called my aunt, my dad's only sibling. We hadn't talked since the funeral. She answered with a soft, Hey, sweetie. You doing okay? I didn't ease into it. Did Dad have another kid? There was a long pause. Then, why are you asking me that? I told her about the photo, the letter, the drawer. She didn't deny it. His name was Cody, she said finally. I only met him once. He was maybe 3 or 4. Your dad never talked about him much. Said it was over. Said it wasn't his place. Why didn't anyone ever tell me? She sighed. Because your dad wanted to be better by the time he had you. He didn't want to be that guy anymore. He swore to Mom he'd bury that part of his life. I sat there, the phone pressed to my ear, trying to breathe. Do you know where Cody is now?
No.
We lost touch with Ellie years ago, but I think they stayed in Texas. I hung up and started digging. Online. Social media. Public records. After 2 days, I found a Cody with the same birth year in San Antonio. I clicked through his photos. Something about him looked familiar.
The jawline.
The way he stood. Same tired eyes. And then I found it, a photo of him holding a man who looked like a younger version of my dad. The caption said, To the man who stepped up when he didn't have to. Rest easy. It was from 5 years ago. The man in the photo wasn't my dad, but Cody thought of him as a father. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. My dad never reached out, never checked in, and Cody probably never knew the truth. I almost messaged him right then, but something stopped me. Instead, I called Nora. She answered after 3 rings. Yeah, I know about the baby, I said. My voice was flat. And I know it's his.
She didn't say anything.
Why didn't you tell me? You didn't ask. That hit harder than I expected. I was going to spend my life with you, I said. I gave up everything to take care of my dad. And you, I waited, she said quietly. But you weren't coming back.
Not really.
The line went quiet. I ended the call. That night, I did something I hadn't done in months. I opened my old email account, the one I stopped using when everything started with Dad, and I found something I forgot about. An email. Unread. It was from Ryan. Sent 8 months ago. Subject. You should know. Inside it said, I didn't mean for this to happen. But Nora's been coming around a lot. Says you don't talk to her anymore. Says she's lonely. I just thought you should know before you find out from someone else. It was dated a full 2 months before I saw that boat photo. She'd been with him all summer. I didn't reply to the email. I just sat there staring at it, like it was a piece of my life I forgot to notice. 8 months ago. That meant they were already seeing each other by the time I was still trying to figure out how to move Dad's bed downstairs. She let me drive 6 hours every weekend. Let me come home exhausted. Let me believe she was waiting. And he sat in my backyard more than once. Ate with us. Called me brother once during a barbecue. Then slid into my life when I was barely keeping mine together. There's a word for people like that, but I didn't even feel like saying it. I felt nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Just done. I called my boss the next day and asked for 3 weeks off. I told him I had family stuff to sort out. He didn't ask questions. I booked a flight to San Antonio. The entire flight, I kept rehearsing what I'd say. If I saw Cody, if I got the chance. But the truth was, I didn't even know why I was going. What would I say? Hey, I think we might have the same dad. He just died. I found your photo in a drawer. It sounded crazy, but something in me needed to look at him to see if anything made sense when I did. I rented a car, drove to the address I found. A small house with a beat-up truck in the driveway. Wind chimes on the porch. I sat in the car for 10 minutes before I got out. I walked up, knocked once, twice. My heart was racing. A kid answered. Couldn't have been older than 10. Hey, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Is Cody here? He turned around and yelled, Dad. Somebody's here. Cody came to the door. He looked at me for a long second, like he was trying to place me. Or maybe he just sensed something off. Can I help you? I paused. Everything I planned to say disappeared. I think we might be related. He didn't say anything. I pulled out my wallet and showed him the photo from my phone. The one of him and the man I thought might be my dad. My dad passed a month ago, I said. He left this photo. Said you were someone I should know.
He stared at it.
Then he shook his head. That's not your dad. That's Mike. My stepdad. He looked up at me. Your dad is David? I nodded. He let out a breath. My mom used to talk about him sometimes. Said he left before I could walk. Never wrote. Never called. I didn't know what to say. He sent a letter once, Cody added. Said he wasn't ready to be a father. That he hoped I had a good life. I guess I did. Mike raised me. Gave me his name. I never needed anyone else. We stood there in silence for a moment. I'm sorry, I said finally. He nodded, like he understood that I wasn't just apologizing for our dad. I'm sorry too, he said. Then he looked past me, toward the street. You should go. So I did. I didn't fly straight home. I rented a cheap room at a motel just outside of Austin. One of those places with chipped paint on the doors and vending machines that only took quarters. I needed to stop moving for a second. That night, I laid on the bed and stared at the ceiling. There was nothing left to do. Dad was gone. Nora was gone. The truth about Cody, that door was closed before I even knocked on it. And yet, I didn't feel free. I felt empty. I kept going back to that line from the will. You deserve better than people who forget you when you're still in the room. It hit different now. Because maybe it wasn't just about Nora. Maybe it was about everyone. The people who said they'd help with Dad and didn't. My sister, who showed up when it was convenient. Friends who stopped calling after the 3rd or 4th month. And me, who forgot myself somewhere along the way, trying to hold everything together. I drove home the next day in silence. No music. No calls. Just the road. When I got back, the apartment was quiet. Nora hadn't returned, but a few of her things were still there. A scarf in the closet. A half-used bottle of shampoo in the shower. I didn't throw them out. I just closed the door. A week later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. I opened it. Inside was a sonogram photo. And a note in her handwriting. I didn't tell you because I knew you'd still try to be good. And I couldn't let you do that to yourself again. No name.
No epalegi. Just that.
I stared at it for a long time. The sonogram. The shape inside it. A life I would never meet. A family that was never mine to begin with. And for the first time in a year, I sat down and cried. The hardest part isn't that they left. It's that I kept waiting anyway. Not out loud, not in any obvious way, but in those quiet moments, like when I set 2 plates on the counter without thinking. Like some part of me still hadn't caught up to the truth. Some nights, I still drive past the park where Nora and I used to walk our dog. The bench we always stopped at is still there. So is the tree we carved our initials into. But the letters are faded now, barely there. Just like everything else. I used to think closure came from answers,
From finding out why.
but it doesn't. It comes from realizing the answers don't change anything. They moved on. And I stayed behind, trying to hold on to something that was already gone. That's what I finally understand. Some people don't break your heart by leaving. They break it by making you wonder if you ever really had them at all.